Hello, this is Magda, the Warsaw Guide, and today we're going to talk about one of the landmarks of Warsaw. We've already discussed the Warsaw Mermaid. I haven't told you about the Palace of Culture and Science yet. One of those videos to come. But today I'm going to tell you about something that definitely catches your eye when you're in the old town, especially in the castle square. But maybe when you're looking at the photos and you don't know the place yet, may not stand out, especially if the photo is taken from the distance and you can't see it that very clearly. At the same time, I'm sorry that it took some time to make this video, but I was away for a short holiday, so I wasn't able to record this one. The landmark I'm talking about is the first secular monument in Warsaw, the oldest secular monument in Warsaw. It was erected in 1644, at the same time as the first column of a secular person in Europe, till 1810, when Column Vendôme was erected in Paris. I'm talking about the column of Sigismund the third, one of our kings, the king from the Warsaw dynasty, and he was one of those elected kings. Yes, Polish nobility elected kings and queens since the end of the Jagiellonian dynasty, since the 16th century, and Sigismund was the third of those elected kings. He was connected to the Polish line, to the Polish Jagiellonian dynasty, because his mother, Catherine, was the sister of the last king from the Jagiellonian dynasty, also Sigismund. There was Sigismund Augustus, Sigismund II, hence Sigismund Vasa is Sigismund III. Basically, he was, well, I think raised to be Polish king. He spoke Polish, which is quite something. If you have been to Poland, you probably realized that it's not that easy, especially when you have tongue twisters like chrząszcz brzmi w trzcinie, w Szczebrzeszynie, a Szczebrzeszyn z tego słynie, and some more. But at the same time, a lot of people can't really say she sells shells by the seashore, so we're done. When it comes to Sigismund, when he was elected, he was also elected because he was Catholic. Well, there was the religious tolerance in Poland at that time. That's why it was a safe haven for Jews and many Protestants that were coming to Poland. Though, of course, majority of Polish nobility was still Catholic. So he was elected, and there was a problem sometimes with that because he treated his religion really seriously. Sometimes he was actually going to end the religious tolerance in Poland. Fortunately, he didn't do that, though twice. Because of his devotion to the Catholic religion, he stopped his son from becoming first the king of Sweden and then the Russian Tsar. Władysław, his son, would have to change religion. So it wasn't working for Sigismund. As he was coming from that Swedish dynasty of Vasas, he also wanted to be a king of Sweden. He was entitled to the throne and the crown of Sweden. He was even a king for 5 years, if I remember right. And then the wars with Sweden started. Well, it's not like we wouldn't fight with Sweden probably in the 17th century, because that's a century of war with everyone around us. though because of Sigismund, it started a little earlier. Sigismund is also the king. There is the most hated one in Krakow and loved one in Warsaw, because he was the one that moved the capital from Krakow to Warsaw. There are several versions of the story saying why he did so. One of my favorites is saying that he liked experiments. He was, well, a self-proclaimed alchemist, and he was trying to get the Philosopher's Stone, but well, in the end, all he got was a huge fire in the Wawel castle. The Wawel castle is in Krakow, so he had to move somewhere. He chose Warsaw. Warsaw was already a place for the parliament sessions, for the Polish country, for the Polish kingdom. There was the royal castle here. So it was a good choice, basically. And Warsaw at the time was more or less in the middle of the kingdom. Well, it's still quite central right now, so it was easier for everyone to get there. And one more thing, it was closer to Sweden. Krakow people are saying that he chose Warsaw because the doctors told him to help his health, he would need some rural air. So he moved to Warsaw. Big one. I wasn't born in Warsaw, so I'm not basically used to any of those. But I like both versions, to be honest. When Sigismund died, his son was elected. It's not like he ruled because he was his oldest son. No, he had to be elected for the king of Poland, and as he Poland and Lithuania, because we had the Commonwealth. And Sigismund already tried to commemorate himself somehow. He had many ideas, but it was his son that decided to honor his father with this first secular monument in Warsaw. Basically, as you may expect, the clergy didn't like it at all, because that honor was so far belonging only to the statues of Our Lady, to the statues of Christ, to the saints, and suddenly you have a situation when a secular person gets such an honor. King, no king, well, he shouldn't get it. He was a secular person. But when king wants something, the king gets something. So despite some protests coming from the church, Władysław erected the statue commemorating his father. It was also a monument to the glory of the Warsaw dynasty. It was to be seen by the guests coming from Krakow, for instance. So it was placed in front of the Krakow gate. Well, right now that gate would be somewhere in the castle square, facing this beautiful street of Krakowskie Przedmieście, the very nice street with many reconstructed houses, with presidential palace, with the Hotel Bristol, with Bristol Hotel, with a university. That's that's the place. So that would be facing it. Of course, to put the column there, so the column would be seen and basically stood out. Yeah, I know it would be high, but that's not enough sometimes. The buildings that were in front of the Krakow gate were demolished, and some of the buildings belonged to the church. So yes, that was another reason why the clergy didn't like it. The statue was designed by the two Italian artists and architects Agostino Locci and Constantino Tencala. As you may see in the photo, the king is wearing his armor, his coronation cloak, he's holding a saber, and he's also holding a cross. To mark that he fought for Christianity, because many of his conflicts included the battles with the Ottoman Empire. So definitely he was fighting for Christianity. The statue was put on a column that was made of the padding stone and was coming from the Polish quarries. It was transported by the Wisła River, as Wisła was the best way of transport those days. And on the column there were actually four plaques made of bronze describing Sigismund and his victories, definitely underlining that he was victorious for Christianity and in a sign of a cross, as with the Roman Emperor. Another thing that was marked on those plaques was that the founder of the statue of the column itself was his son. Well, this was the fourth, because he was the fourth Polish king with that name. It had to be marked. And despite all the wars, all the struggles that Warsaw was coming through, including the wars with Sweden, the worst one in the half of the 17th century, the statue was still there. Maybe there were some little damages, but it was there. In the beginning of the 19th century, the whole square and the gate was, let's say, organized. The gate was demolished, to be exact, because it wasn't in the best condition. Some buildings that were existing on the castle square were demolished, creating a huge space, and also the immediate surrounding of our column changed. Four stone pillars were put with the chains, and it wasn't for long there, for basically about 30 years, because in the 50s a new sewage system was being made. The water pipes were being brought to several places, were being mounted in the houses. So that was a time for something different, to introduce some fountains, great fountains, to Warsaw, and there were four tritons surrounding the column, and they were blowing the horns, and water was coming out of them. By the end of the 19th century, the column itself was changed from that padding stone to granite. The monument was also moved a little bit, and the wooden scaffoldings that were used for the reinstallation of the column was also reused. The wood was used to build a church in the Brudno cemetery, which is a cemetery on the right bank of the river, as we say, so in Praga district, in Brudno district. I will talk a little bit about cemeteries, because that's an interesting subject in Warsaw, so maybe that will be our next one. We will see. But back to our column, our Sigismund. On the top of the column, new look. Of course, it changes all the time. In the beginning of 1930s, they restored the original surrounding of the column. But then the war came. And guess what happened? Well, basically not much. There were plans. There were plans to the column. There were plans not only to the column, but as to the whole city. The plan was named after men called Papst, Friedrich Papst. He was the German architect that designed a plan of reconstruction of Warsaw. So after the war, most of Warsaw would be demolished. A new, perfect model German city would be erected in that place. Well, some of the buildings would be reused. In place of the royal castle that was basically burned out, maybe not a ruin, a complete ruin, but you wouldn't have anything inside and was completely unstable. There would be a great Nazi party hall, and in front of it, you wouldn't have a Polish king, of course you wouldn't. So he planned to put a statue of the German goddess of victory. That was a plan, but till then, let that man, Swedish, but they're neutral, so why not stay on the column? Basically, Pabst followed the general outline of a Nazi plan as to Polish lands after the war, after the extermination of the Jews. Slavic people would follow. Polish people, Russian people, maybe 1 million would remain in the former Polish territories as slaves to do the dirtiest work, but the remaining people would be eliminated, exterminated, as it happened with the Jewish people. And in place of a city in which above 1 million people lived before the war, more than 1 million people, 1.5 million, something between that. That would be a tiny, small German city for about 130,000 German citizens. So that was basically the Pabst plan. Didn't happen, but Warsaw was leveled to the ground, as you know, and at that time the Sigismund column was destroyed. It happened during the Warsaw Uprising. The uprising that started on the 1st of August 1944. So yes, we had the anniversary, the 76th anniversary recently. By the end of August, in the beginning of September, the old town was destroyed. The insurgents, civilians, whoever could, left the old town area, and a shot from the tank destroyed the column. Sigismund fell from above, but surprise, surprise, it wasn't destroyed. Only a part of the left hand was destroyed, and basically nothing less. Well, after the war, the bronze elements were not found. We don't know where they went, though we might expect. And the third column that was erected on the 22nd of July 1949 was made of granite as well. That was brought from the area that was incorporated to Poland after World War II. Before the World War II, it was basically Germany. It happened on the 22nd of July, because basically most of the important things happened on 22nd of July. That was a day that was commemorating the establishment of the new Polish government. Well, communist government, so that was basically a puppet government created by Stalin, that was made in Lublin. So a lot of important things during the communist times in communist Poland happened on the 22nd of July. That was not only unveiling the Sigismund column, there was also ending of work on the WZ route and the tunnel that runs under the old town. If you've been to Warsaw, you have seen it. If not, that's just a photo there. So that was that time. And we have our Sigismund till now. I'm really, really glad that we do, because it's a very, very nice monument, especially if you think it was the first secular monument in Poland and the first secular column in Europe. And basically, Sigismund survived for a very long time now, almost 400 years. 24 years more, and we will have the 400th anniversary. So that's quite something, and one of the landmarks of Warsaw. When something happens in Warsaw, like the final games between the major teams, Polish First League, or the one of the two Warsaw teams, Sigismund gets the scarf in the colors of that sport club, sometimes something else, and there are some legends about the monument. There are stories that when Sigismund will move his sword, then he will be ready to defend our Warsaw. So thank you so much for watching, again, as usual. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Once again, I'm sorry that it took a little bit more time than recently. I hope you enjoy those stories. Next one, maybe about the cemetery. I think that's a good idea, basically, to do at least one about the old Powązki cemetery. At least one, because that cemetery is quite something. So we have a deal. The next one will be about the cemetery. As usual, you can find the details about my social media in the description. Maybe you would like to subscribe so you would get an information when the new video will be posted. If you want to buy me a beer or coffee, there is a link in the description to my PayPal collection. So, only if you want to. So, till next time.